You're watching this today because you're curious about objections. You may like me as an individual, so you figured you're going to listen to what I have to say. Well, today I'm going to give you Objection 101. I'm going to share with you my theories, my ideas, things that I've experienced, things that I've taught, and things that have been successful. And hopefully this Objection 101 podcast episode, maybe it will help you to overcome one of those objections that you're facing. Let's dive in. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode today, we're going to be talking about Objection 101. Now, I'm going to give you my ideas, my theories, as I mentioned, the teaser. There's some stuff that can help you. But I want to tell you something. If you're watching one of my videos for the very first time, if you've never, ever subscribed, if you've never, ever leave us a rating and review, then please leave us a rating and review. That would be greatly appreciated, as well as go ahead and hit subscribe. You know, forget about smash that subscription button and tell people, listen, I am here to stay with the Sales Evangelist. They're bringing me value. So today we're going to be talking, and if you do that, I'll greatly appreciate it. Even if you don't do it, I appreciate you at least watching and listening to this. But objections are very simple. Let's just go to the basic definition. From Google, you can hear some of the things here. An expression or feeling of disapproval or opposition, a reason for disagreeing. So let's think about it from the idea of the buyer. The buyer has a disapproval, or maybe they don't agree to move forward with something. An objection in sales could be that, let's just say, for instance, things that are going to block you from continuing down the path, or an object in your way. So if I'm selling a product, let's say if it is sales training, one of the objections that I might get, or a block, or something that might be a disapproval or disagreeing from my clients or potential clients, is perhaps they might say that I don't believe that this can help my team, or I don't believe my team needs that right now. Now, these things, sometimes they have validity to them. However, oftentimes when it comes towards objection in sales, it's because you have interrupted or interject yourself into a buyer's situation, or they might feel uncomfortable moving forward with. So therefore, they give you something to stop that situation or from moving forward. When I did a survey to my community, one of the things that I found out is that most people, one of the things they don't like about salespeople is that they're pushy. Now, if I feel that someone is being pushy, if I feel that someone is bombarding me with something, and I'm not in that state to be able to continue to listen to them, or I want to listen to them right now, I will give them something that will stop them, an objection. Sorry, I am not interested. Is it really that I'm not interested? Maybe their product or service can solve a problem, but right now, that product or service is not something that I value, or your interpretation or your expression or your education about that product or that service is not something of value to me right now, the way I see it. The way I see it with most salespeople is that individual sales reps, oftentimes they find themselves not being able to understand how to handle those prospects' objections, or understanding why they're receiving those objections in the first place. So let's go back to the first one. When people tell me sometimes that if I'm reaching out to them cold and they say, send some more information. For me, it's not, you can't take the original objection at face value, because you got to understand that right now that buyer doesn't necessarily understand the value in what I have to share, much less to say they're not interested in it. This is why referrals are so much more effective, because the buyer is at least willing to listen to be able to understand. So when it comes towards Objection 101, objection handling, don't take the first bait, or don't jump at the first, bite at the first buck, or the first thing they toss at you. They might say, I'm not interested, and then you start going down, well, here's a bunch of reasons about why our product's amazing, and you should listen. What I like to recommend to salespeople is almost like a dance. Take a step back. I might say something like, hey, I understand that you may not be interested right now. Out of curiosity, is there any particular thing that you may not be interested in from what I shared? Or you can use this one that I've learned from some of my sales training experiences. One of the foundational programs that I went through early on as a seller, it was this idea of giving them a menu. So you might say, hey, Donald, I understand that you may not be interested right now. And I know that I'm calling and I'm probably interrupting your day or one of the tasks that you're doing. But out of curiosity, when people tell me that they're not interested, usually it means, one, maybe it is an interruption to their day. Or two, they genuinely have a product or service that I am offering and don't care for it right now. Or three, it's just not a good time and they want to find another way to get rid of me. Is it any of those? Maybe they'll be honest and say, Donald, it is, I just don't have the time right now. And then it might lead to an opportunity to say, well, what if I was to connect with you later this week? Could we set up a specific time where I can take 5 to 7 minutes and share with you how other companies such as XYZ and XYZ benefit from what we are offering? If I could do that, would you at least be open to listening? Sure, Donald. Now I can set up that specific time. But that's one of the strategies. Again, remembering the idea that it's not that he doesn't, or in this case, the prospect didn't believe what I have could be of value. He didn't know that, or she didn't know those things when they give you those objections. It's just as a way to defer you, to tell you to stop bugging them or to leave them. Another important thing you need to understand when it comes towards objection is that the objection doesn't mean that we won't do business together ever. Sometimes we find sellers that would take that objection and automatically mark in their Salesforce that this deal is lost or this opportunity is not interested. Well, one person out of an organization, and we've seen based on some of the things you've learned in the podcast so far, that in an organization there are multiple individuals making decisions regarding products and services. There's committees, and sometimes the one buyer that you have may not be the one prospect that you went to. So is there a way that you can find other people that can be advocates? And oftentimes when somebody gives me an objection, I find out if I reach out to them again, that those individuals would be more than willing to listen, or if I reach out to them in another way that helps. Recognizing that they don't see the value, is there a way that I can show them the value? Perhaps I could find a mutual connection that can help introduce us. Perhaps I can send them something in the mail that's going to give them the reciprocity. So maybe I give them like a gift card to like Starbucks. And again, I've shared that strategy. They're more willing to listen now because I've given them something. What does this guy have to talk about that I'm going to spend, that he's willing to ask for 5 to 7 minutes, and he's willing to give me something in return for that? That will help to prompt the idea again. I would just want, your goal is to, yes, get past those objections, but also to understand that it's to help them to see that there's something of worth or value in what you're offering to them or what you're bringing to them or what you're bringing to what you're trying to help them with. I mean, the other thing that I want you to understand when it comes towards objection is, again, so let me just finish up the last point, is that even if they push you away right now, it doesn't mean that like in 2 weeks I can't call them, because studies, and you probably could find this all the time, that it takes multiple, 6 to 8, sometimes 6 to 12 contacts or touches before somebody purchases. So if that's the case, they may not even remember in 2 weeks that I'm the one that called them. So when I do call them back, it's not going to be a big deal. Or if I send them another avenue, connect with them another avenue, it shows them persistent. When I ask my sales team, the prospects that we jump on calls with, when my sales team book an appointment for me, one of the things I find out is like, why did you take the appointment from Aaron or Jermaine or Nancy? And what they tell me is that they were persistent oftentimes, or they were creative. So in those instances, the buyers, you got to understand, they're getting bombarded with so many people like sending them garbage or sending them things trying to connect with them or trying to sell them something. If you can stand out by being creative, if you can stand out by being persistent, or if you can stand out by being consistent with them, they're going to be willing to respect you and to be able to listen to you. And especially if you're selling to salespeople will respect another salesperson. They can respect greatness when they see it. So that's another thing that you might be aware of. The final thing that I want you to know, as far as when it comes to this Objection 101, we talked about what it is and why it's not usually the first reason. It's not major reason. How it's important to recognize that you know now doesn't mean no forever. But the third thing, you're going to hear this in some of our guest episode, is that you want to be able to be apt to be able to answer some of those common objection challenges, though. So if somebody does genuinely have objection, they say, Donald, we already have a service like this. Do you have something readily available to say to them? Now, some salespeople, they will read off verbatim, like saying, well, Donald, I understand where you are coming from. We can help you to be more. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having something that you have internalized, that you've practiced. So when you hear this objection, when somebody says this, you can understand that the root cause usually stems down to this, and therefore I can ask these questions to help them. One of the tools that I've seen is, the many different ones out there, but you can use your sales playbook. but there's a company called Get Sierra. And what you're able to do with that is if my sales team is on a phone call and they want to see how I can handle this objection, they could click on Get Sierra, and that objection underneath, like maybe it's one of the, why we are not interested right now when they have an initial call, they can then find out what are some of the common responses that we've used internally that are more effective. Or you might use a tool like Wingman that's able to listen for the objection and automatically tell you when I hear pricing or I hear not interested, salespeople try to say this thing. But that way you have it available right then and there. I mean, you all have it easy nowadays with these sales reps, man. Back in the days, you had to write these things down and have them all over your desk. But but those are some of the things that I want you to understand when it comes towards objection. Objection 101. Objections are not the end of the world. Objections doesn't mean that people are not going to buy from you. It's just that there is, like the definition says, an expression or feeling of disapproval or opposition. And the opposition may just be, I don't know enough yet, Donald, to make a decision. Hope this is able to help you. If you want to find out more, if you have another way of something that you took away from this that helped you when it comes toward objection, just let me know. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. I appreciate that. As always, I share stuff like this. I want you to succeed. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to go out each and every single day and do big things. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.